advertisers, management, staff, or ownership of WCTC.
Take Jersey Central with Burt Barron with you every morning. Listen online at WCTCAM.com. Jersey moves fast. Join the show that keeps you one step ahead. Jersey Central with Burt Barron.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
On the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC.
8:08, welcome to hour number 3 of Jersey Central on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. It's Burt Barron inside the Ford's Jewelers Studios today. And, of course, all morning. Thank you for your calls, thoughts, reaction on yesterday's election day here in Jersey and, of course, around America. More of your calls coming up, but I want to get to the Jersey Central Newsmaker hotline. And as we were watching things sort of develop last night and Trump starting to kind of claim state after state and the swing states were starting to go his way, we saw a lot of activity and a lot of action with the overseas markets, and I was curious to see what's going to happen today. So our special guest who is with us, host of one of our weekend shows here on WCTC, Retiring Right Radio, that you can hear on Saturday and Sunday. Of course, the host, he's also an author and a financial planner, and he is with us this morning. Randy Fisher is with us to share his insights here on WCTC. Good morning, Randy. It's Burt Barron. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for chiming in. Late night for you as well, I take it. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's pretty interesting. I'm kind of elated and exhausted all at the same time. It was like it was the birth of my first son or daughter. You know, Lady Liberty was in labor for about 20 hours last night, and I heard we have a boy.
Yeah, that's true. We do. And it's amazing what an hour of sleep will do for you each night,
oh my
Randy.
Gosh.
But this is history-making stuff. And I was watching last night as things were going along, as I'm sure you were as well. Tremendous activity with the overseas markets, and I started to see the big red arrow was kind of pointing down as Donald Trump was starting to claim state after state. Is that a natural thing that you kind of see happen? It's sort of a gut reaction from people?
It's overreaction, Bert. It's what they consider capitulation. It gets out of hand, and then it basically, once the dust settles, people get a little cooler heads, and they kind of bounce back a little bit here. The broad markets across the board, and across the world actually last night, were getting hammered. And right now we're back to something that's palatable. It's not going to be comfortable. Everybody should strap on their hard hats today at about 9:30 this morning when the market's open. But it's going to be something that I'm certain that we're going to get through. The reason why the markets are reacting this way is Trump is an uncertain to the markets, and Wall Street likes opportunities and people that they can kind of set their watch to. When it's predictable, Wall Street likes it. They do not like uncertainty. And that's the reason why the markets are acting the way they are doing right now.
Interesting. I've heard something similar, Randy, from people that are in a similar line of work of yours or those who are in the banking or the loan industry. When they were questioned about which candidate they thought they were sort of leaning towards and what their thoughts were, all the ones that brought up Hillary Clinton said we're the most comfortable with her because we know it'll probably be business as usual. And at the time, Bernie Sanders was still very much in the race, and they said with the other two guys, Sanders and Trump, they're so unpredictable that we're a little leery about what direction they could take us in.
Absolutely, and you know the markets, to be quite frank with you, over the last number of weeks and months, they've kind of hinted towards this upset. Despite all the government manipulation with key data, unemployment, GDP, and on, the markets have been telegraphing this victory for about the past 3 months because the market's down almost 2% over that period of time, most especially the last 2 weeks. Up until the last couple of days, we had no positive days for about 8 or 9 straight. Right now, the market's teetering at around 4 to 5% above the waterline, which is a good sign. The bad sign is if you take some statistical history involved here, in years of a last year of a two-term president, the markets normally react negatively between 11 and 14% down. So if that does hold true and if that bellwether comes to fruition, we could be seeing a minus 15 to 20% between now and the end of the year.
Is there a little bit of, you see what's happening in other markets around the world for investors here in the States, Randy? Do they maybe look at the Nikkei and some of the European markets and say, well, things are going crazy over there and it's going to happen here too, no matter what? Is it a little bit of, watch people do that and just kind of do the same thing they're doing?
Well, we live in a global economy, and everything is minute by minute, second by second, where, let's just take a decade ago. A decade ago, news traveled around the world that may have taken 30, 40 minutes. Today, it takes 30 nanoseconds. So everything is interconnected, and there's a lot of overreaction that happens first. So And I would have to say this. Some of my greatest advice to anybody that's out there that is not retiring within the next 3 years, don't overreact. So there's going to be some opportunities that are going to present themselves for everybody. But those that have a long time horizon should take a look at their long-term goals and not overreact to the short-term things that are happening throughout the world, whether it be Europe, the Asian Pacific Rim, and even right here in the United States. Those that are those that are within retirement or retiring potentially within the next 3 years, I think the caution lights are basically blinking and the horns are sirens and everything is going off right now. You really need to be extremely cautious because we could potentially be looking at a downturn in the market. We could be looking at interest rates rising on the short term. And this could be the triple whammy here. When you take a look at it, Bert, and you say, well, Brexit, well, that could have done it, and it didn't. And now you have the Trump presidency. We're getting a little bit of rockiness now in the market, and it's kind of built in a little bit. But the last one, which hasn't happened as of yet, is the Fed rate hike. And they're already hinting that the Fed rate hike could be happening as quickly as December. If those three things happen, that could be the perfect storm, which is the tipping point which the market was looking for to start heading down. We've been up 7 years and 7 months right now. It could be a little long in the tooth.
Well, what kind of influence does the sitting president have on that? Can he go to the Fed chair and say, hey, listen, don't do this on my watch. I got a month left. Can you wait on this? Does the president have any influence on that from happening, Randy?
Well, I think he has been influencing the markets for quite some time now. In fact, on my radio show and my workshops and my books and things like that I've been going over for a number of years now, a lot of the government manipulation that's been out there has really caused this man-made market in which we've been riding. It's really financial heroin. I mean, the government has basically been dishing cash to the market. Interest rates have not been attractive, so bonds are not the place where investors can find safe haven as well as their return. So they've been forced to get into the market, and the market's reacted nicely. Now, those that have been involved in the market over this period of time, if you were in it, you've made some money. But unfortunately, when I say manipulation, Bert, let me give you an example. Do you really think that the unemployment rate is 4.9%?
That number doesn't seem realistic to me.
I mean, it
no.
just doesn't seem realistic, right?
Yeah.
We have 322 million Americans. We have 95 million Americans that aren't even counted in the unemployment system anymore. That's almost a third of them. So the real unemployment rate could be double digits. So when all those things are taken into consideration, they're done on a purpose of trying to make the market look better than what it is. We could actually still be sitting on, and if this doesn't change within the next month or so, a president that has never had a single period of 3% or more GDP growth throughout his entire presidency.
Wow.
That's unprecedented. Unprecedented. So I think he's trying to hold on to some of his legacy. I think one of the problems right now is the pen and the paper in which he had a lot of executive order could potentially be undone as President Trump enters the White House. And we're going to see what he can do to hold on to the market and the economy and all of his legacy to unemployment and all this other good stuff coming forward. But I think people really need to take some cautious approach here. I don't think the world's coming to an end. I'm not Chicken Little, the sky's not falling. But I think those that need to be worried about where their situation is someone who's either near or in retirement right now. Those are the people who are most concerned.
The 40-something with the wife and the 2 kids and the minivan and the house and the dog and the cat, similar sort of strategy for them at this point, Randy?
Bert, you know what? If you have dry powder sitting on the sideline, this could be the best buying opportunities we've had in quite some time. Dry powder meaning you're not invested. So if you're fully invested right now and you go down with the ship, you're going to have to stay invested just to make your money back. Now, as time goes on, if you're investing in 401ks or you're dollar cost averaging into the market, all that volatility is going to be on your side. It's going to work to your advantage. But if you're 40 or you're 30s or you're even in your 50s, you've got some time on your side. Actually, I look at this as a positive situation because if you can realign and rebalance your portfolios and look for the opportunities that are available, you're going to be in some good shape. I mean, think about it this way. There are some particular opportunities for investors looking forward as the Trump presidency comes about. Oil, coal, energy, gold, defense, healthcare, infrastructure. These are all areas of investments that Trump can literally impact. And if you're wise enough to look into those areas and sectors, keeping costs down and concentrating your funds in those areas, you may be able to make a lot of money during that period of time. The other thing is this. We now have a president, unprecedented again, since 1928, that we have a president that's potentially going to walk into the White House with the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress all in hand. So what that basically means, Bert, is in the next 2 years, there are a number of things that are probably going to be done before another changing of the guard, right? The midterm elections in 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity that this presidency or the new presidency can make a big play. Now, on the opposite side of that, we also can see some unprecedented volatility. And normally the first 100 days of a presidency is extremely volatile because the markets and everybody's got to get used to the new fiscal policy. So we'll see. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. As we wrap up here, Randy, how does someone reach out to you to get some more information about your services?
Thank you very much. You can find me on regalfinancialgroup.com. You can also listen to my show on Saturdays and Sundays on WCTC right here on 1450 AM on 8:30 and 7:30 Saturday and Sunday. RegalFinancialGroup.com is the website. You can go on there and you can find out more about me.
All right. Appreciate your input this morning, Randy, and I'm sure we'll talk to you many more times as it's a new day in America, and I'm sure we'll be getting some information and content from you coming up, all right?
Absolutely. Get some sleep, Bert.
I will. You do the same. Thank you. All right, Randy Fisher, my guest here on Jersey Central, of course, host of